think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Welcome everyone to Earth Changes News for July 5th, 2011. I have a couple of stories here I wanted to report on, and being I didn't have a blog TV show Sunday, I thought I would actually give you them today. Only 3 stories really, nothing too much. The first story dealing with the ocean warming. The scientists are actually looking into these ice sheets in the Antarctic actually warming much quicker than they originally expected. It says warming oceans could melt ice faster than expected. Ice sheets simmering in warmer ocean waters could melt much quicker than realized. New research is suggesting that as oceans heat up, they could erode away ice sheets as much faster than warm water alone, and this interaction needs to be accounted for in the climate models. Ocean warming is very important compared to atmospheric warming because water has a much larger heat capacity than air. Study research Yan Yin at the University of Arizona said in a statement, if you put an ice cube in a warm room, it will melt in several hours. If you put an ice cube in a cup of warm water, it will just disappear in a few minutes. And you can try that experiment at home, I guess. The researchers studied 19 state-of-the-art climate models and saw that subsurface ocean warming could accelerate ice sheet melting over the next century, resulting in greater sea level rise that could exceed 3 feet. And Antarctica will melt at different rates though. So that's the story I wanted to report on. So it seems that they're finding out why the ice in Antarctica is melting much quicker. It's because the water is getting much warmer. Now in my opinion, I think this is due to volcanic activity. And you guys can speculate on what's causing that. But the next story I wanted to get to is a story about an Indonesia volcano has erupted. So it's I think I reported. I think I saved this yesterday. I put it on my Twitter yesterday anyway. It's July 3rd actually it was. A volcano in Indonesia, Sulawesi Island, erupted Sunday, spewing ash and smoke 5,000 meters into the air. Mount Saputan in North Sulawesi province erupted at around 6:03 a.m., but people living in the sparsely populated area have not been evacuated. Ling Kashnadi, a scientist at the volcano's monitoring post, told AFP. The volcano erupted this morning. Besides spewing ash and dust particles, it also spewed hot gas, but that's limited to around its crater, he said. The recommended evacuation zone is set to a 6-kilometer radius around the volcano, but there's only forest in that region. At the moment, it's still a safe distance from people and will continue to monitor the activity, he added. So that's a story about the volcano in Indonesia. And I have another story here I want to get to, but it's not really regarding Earth changes. It's pretty much regarding the Greece default. And let me get to it. I have the Greece default one, if I can find it. It came at, here we go. This has to do with the Greece default that I actually saved today, but I thought it important enough to actually report on it, so I'll tell you about this now. It says Greece at risk of being judged in default. It says Greece risks being judged in default on its debt obligations if banks are forced to bear the pain, or the part of the pain. Standard & Poor's said Monday, suggesting that current proposals for rescuing the Eurozone's weakest member may have to be reconsidered. In particular, a plan proposed by the French government and banks could require private sector debt restructuring in a form that we would view as an effective default, S&P said in a statement. The effects of a Greek default would be felt around the world. The country's debt of 330 billion euros might not be large enough in itself to set off a renewed financial crisis, but once the precedent of a Eurozone default had been set, investors would likely abandon the debts of other struggling members, including Portugal and Spain. More worrying, Western banks including the giant of Wall Street, have built a tower of credit debt swaps, default swaps, essentially insurance on the debts of those countries, and the cost of paying up in a default would be huge. While the French and German banks have the biggest direct exposure to Greece's debts, it is American banks and insurance companies that would have the largest obligations to cover payments to those holding the swaps. So it'll be very interesting tomorrow when the stock markets open up, because they were closed today because of the July 4th holiday. But it'll be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow with this new information coming out. People don't realize, a lot of people don't realize, in 1929 when the stock market crashed, people lost everything because there was no FDIC. And for those of you who put money in the banks now, they have nothing really to worry about, because if a bank fails, well, it's insured, I think, up to $100,000 or $250,000. I think they changed it. You're insured of $250,000 per account. So if your bank fails, the FDIC takes over. But my question is, will the FDIC insure all the banks in the United States? There comes a time where they'll run out of money too, I think. I don't think they can insure all the banks if all the banks start failing. But you guys can leave comments regarding that and tell me what you think. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much the 3 stories I wanted to report on. 2 had to do with earth changes, and this one I thought was important enough to report on. Take it easy, folks, and stay safe. This has been Earth Changes News for July 5th, 2011.
I'm not afraid to take a stand, take a stand.